Hello, this is Alex, and there is a reason why this is the very first time I've ever covered VR on the channel, because honestly, I've had a love-hate relationship, actually hate might be too strong, a love-meh relationship with VR, and ended up taking a long hiatus from it just a few months after the PSVR was released back in 2016. I felt like most of the games at the time were more experience than traditional game, and nothing quite captured my interest for more than a play session or two, and I ended up just losing interest in the entire medium. Fast forward to now, years later, and I just recently picked up an Oculus Rift S, but more importantly, I finally found a few really amazing core games that are now available that I actually feel quite passionately about. I have about 3 to 5 games I would like to showcase, and will feature some as honorable mentions towards the end of this video, but I primarily want to focus on what I would consider to be the VR system seller for core gamers, the dark fantasy roguelite dungeon crawler, In Death. In Death is a procedurally generated gauntlet of challenging encounters that requires practice, dedication, and patience to overcome, which is probably why I love it so much. Most all the other VR games I played back in the day were honestly not that hard compared to, say, a traditional game, except for maybe Thumper, but not the case here with In Death, because if you stripped away the core virtual reality aspect of it, it would still be on the higher end of difficult. This is not the type of game you can just nonchalantly meander through, and a slight lapse with your aim, enemy spacing, or just general spatial awareness can easily end your run sooner than you might expect. For this reason, I think this is why In Death really sticks with me after I take the VR headset off, because it gives me that little nugget in the back of my brain that is always pondering, how can I do that better, which tactic could be used here, and what the heck is going to await me in the next level, if I manage to survive to it. It's not just the mere fact that, hey, I'm a hardcore gamer, I like Dark Souls and enjoy dying. No, In Death, even on a systems level, does almost everything perfect for creating a rewarding roguelike experience, and it just so happens to be in VR. The movement options are some of the best I've ever experienced in virtual reality, offering a few different ways to teleport around that actually make sense in the game's universe, along with free locomotion if you want even more direct control. The aiming with the bow and crossbow also feel great. By the way, side note, I'm playing with the current beta patch for the Oculus Rift S controllers that really improves their accuracy, and I would highly recommend you opt into this if it's still in beta when you're watching this. You also gain different arrow types along the way, which can be found or purchased, and they can definitely save you in certain situations, and are also just fun to mess around with. All the mechanics really seem to lend themselves well in VR, lining up shots, blocking oncoming arrows, and dodging out of the way all seem quite natural and intuitive. I could really gush more about In Death because it's really captured my attention, which is the entire reason I made this whole video, but I do want to feature 2 other great honorable mentions that I feel also will appeal to core gamers, which are honestly more widely known but still quite amazing. Superhot Vr is just pure gaming bliss. The base game of Superhot was already great, but it's astonishing how well it not only translates into VR, but somehow blows its predecessor out of the water. If you want a challenging puzzle shooter, the gimmick of Superhot by the way is that the game only moves when you move, then you owe it to yourself to play the most innovative shooter in years. Lastly, definitely a well-known entry, Robo Recalls by far the best arcade shooter on VR, and it seems like every time I play it, I figure out some new awesome thing I can do in it. Deflecting and throwing back bullets, boomeranging your guns off enemies to reload them, using enemies as meat shields, and just tons and tons of nuance make Robo Recall an overall epic ride. And those are my thoughts on the state of VR in 2019 for hardcore gamers, in case some of you out there are looking into finally diving in, or just want something cool to play. I really wouldn't have recommended VR to anyone just a few years ago, but I finally feel confident on the medium now. Its prices have shifted from enthusiast to general consumer levels, and there are also tons of great games out there. I actually have a personal list of around 20 games I still want to get to, and didn't even mention some other great games like Pavlov VR and Sorrento VR, but look those up if you want a few more suggestions. If you happen to enjoy the style of content I do here at Boomstick Gaming, consider subscribing, ringing that little bell icon if you already are, and following me on Twitter at BoomstickAlex. If you want to go a little further, you can check out my YouTube member and Patreon perks, which offer some benefits back to you while also helping to directly improve my channel, just like these awesome top supporters do right here. One last thing before I go, another benefit of VR that some people may not talk about much is it can be quite a workout. I actually did this whole video in one big 3-hour VR session, and I was honestly beat by the end of it. Out of shape perhaps, but anyways, thanks for watching.